Hopefully I just created a really cool thumbnail.
Just say a little prayer, get your money, man. Life goes on.
I'm hopeful, yes I am hopeful for today.
Welcome to the series where I do indoor hobbies outside. I touch grass so you don't have to. So this is the location I came to. I did miss Blue Hour by a little bit, and I wanted to take some time to just kind of enjoy this, and now I'm sharing with you. I did read a total of 10 books last month. Well, 9 and 1 DNF. It's my first DNF of the year. And in a moment, I don't think I'm in frame here. That's a shame.
Bruh.
In 1 second, I will start talking about Heavenly Bodies, because that got me out of a reading slump last month. Much like this sunrise is getting me out of a slump because it has rained the last 8 days. Welcome to New York. I packed what I'm actually reviewing on the bottom, so that's great. What is this, you may ask? It is my book journal, and I also have a series of how I go about my spreads and just updating this monthly. 9 books. I've read Dune, Piranesi, Kiss of the Basilisk, Heavenly Bodies, Scythe and Sparrow, Bridge Kingdom, Traitor Queen, Enchantra, and Fearless, and To Sleep in a Sea of Stars was my DNF this month, unfortunately. So Heavenly Bodies counts as a fantasy. I think it's more towards romantasy, but the plot is really good. It's about a girl named Alara, and there are gods in this world who are merciless, and there is a prophecy where she's going to kill a star. The gods are referred to as stars, and that is a very rare occurrence that a human is able to kill a star. There is limited magic in this world. Some people are more powerful than others, and this star kills her family, and then she's taken into their enemy kingdom. She meets the Prince Enzo. Enzo is in charge of her training, and politically, enemies to lovers. Honestly, it was just really good. I thought the pacing was good. I liked the plot line. Anything that has to do with prophecies for me, kind of involving gods with more like human subset, it's kind of cool. I did really appreciate the yearning in this book. I loved Enzo, how he treated Alara, how their journey was just from start to finish, and I cannot wait for book 2. Like, the ending of this had me on the edge of my seat. I was like, what the heck is going on here? This is so odd. Not odd, but it definitely, some of the stuff caught me by surprise, and it was really nice. And overall, I thought it was just a good book. I rated it 4 stars, and 2 of my favorite quotes from this were, people can only meet you as deeply as they have met themselves, and a woman can be both, soft and fierce. She does not have to choose. And I feel like, now that I'm looking back on the quotes that I've picked for each book, I have one that's more towards like the romance part normally, and then I always have one that's more of like how your brain functions or interactions between people or psych related, which take that as you will, I guess. But I would recommend this. There was a few plot twists I didn't see coming, which I appreciate, because I'm definitely one of those people that can kind of guess as you go, and normally I'm right, and I didn't see one of these coming, so that was very refreshing. The second book I read was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and this was a book that every time I went into the bookstore, I would pick up, be like, this looks like it could be really cool, and then I'd put it back. But I did end up getting it when I went to Florida. I had a little mishap with the van, and I got stuck there for a bit, and I ended up buying a couple books, and Piranesi was one of them. I will say, it's very confusing at first, but that is because the character is confused, so if you get through the first little bit, it's only 245 pages, so it's not a lot before you start like realizing what's going on, but it's just very good. It was more of a unique story. It's about a man who wakes up in a house, and he's extremely grateful for the house, and he only knows one man, and he sees him on certain days, and he's trying to help this man figure out the house pretty much, and it goes from there. This is one of those stories you can't really go into depth without giving it away, but if you can get past the fact that you are kind of confused with the main character at first, it is a really good book. I haven't read anything like it. I did rate this at first 3.5 stars, and I'm kind of in between 3.5 and a 4 still. Now that I think about it, it was only 245 pages, but I do feel like it was one of the slower reads for me. I did read another book shortly after this that was double the length in a shorter amount of time, or at least it felt faster. I'm not sure. I still like this book. It was just, it felt slower to me. Maybe it's because of the confusion part and I wasn't really able to like start piecing things together. And that's not to say with the usual fantasy where you're kind of lost in the beginning. This is really like you're confused because the main character is confused, and you can only realize things as stuff goes on as he realizes it goes on. So, yeah, I would recommend it. It's definitely different. I appreciated it. So, when I was going down to Florida, I was reading Kiss of the Basilisk, and this is probably the most unhinged book that I think I have read ever. The intro to this is the book is better with the less you know going into it, which I honestly would agree. It's about the worlds between basilisks and humans, and the basilisks teach the humans, as a part of a treaty, how to. There's a word in here that is way better than what I'm about to say. Seduction. The basilisks the basilisks teach the humans in the art of oh my god. The basilisks teach the humans in the art of seduction for the prince as a part of a treaty for their previous war that they had between the two species. And honestly, that's all I'm really going to tell you about the plot, because I do think the less you go no that's really all I'm going to tell you about the plot going into this. I do agree the less you know what's going on, the better it is, because I had an idea of what was going on from some quotes that I've seen and some reels online, and it was enough to get my interest, and I really thought this was going to be more of just like the unhinged sexual things. And honestly, there's a lot more plot than I thought was going to be in this, which was a nice surprise. I did give this a 4, but this was more of a, you know what, like, hell yeah, kind of 4. This is definitely a vibes read. I will say for this one, I was not a huge fan of the female main character, Tem. I felt like she was hypocritical. It kept going back and forth between her confidence levels and just what she wanted, and there wasn't a lot of depth to the other characters at all. And the male characters, I felt like their whole personality is this girl, which is kind of annoying. Like, I get the yearning, I love that, but like, have something else going on for you too, not just the female main character. I feel like it provides a whole other realm of depth in a story besides just being obsessed with the main character. But yeah, I mean, I'm sending this to my friend, so I recommend it. I did turn off the noise canceling, so I'm hoping the mic picks up the ambiance that's going on right now, because it is quite peaceful. Going into To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. This is my DNF of the month, unfortunately, and I say this because Aragon was one of the series that I read when I was younger, and I loved it. And I felt honestly really bad. I did give this like a 2.5 out of 3 because I can understand there's an audience who would really love this book. It is just not me. I felt like this book is over 1,000 pages, not including like the appendix and the glossary. And it would have been the longest, and I was really trying to push through, and I found when I was reading this, I was not excited to pick this up at all. The premise is cool. It's based out of space, and your main character finds an alien relic, obviously not supposed to find. It's never good in a sci-fi. And I got to page 300, and she found the relic. It attaches to her, and now she's pretty much running for her life, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's in a way that you can't. This is written like the reader cannot put anything together themselves, but also everything that happens is described in detail. Very, very, very detailed. And it took the fun out of the story for me personally. like I said, there's an audience for these people.
Huh?
There's an audience for this book. It is just not me. I will be sending this to a friend though. So finally, I have a group of friends who love Dune. They are obsessed with the movies, the video games, anything that comes up with this, they're on it. And I remember back when this movie came out, I saw it in theaters. I was on the mid-right side of the theater and I was watching, and it was 2 hours in and I felt like and then I remember meeting Zendaya in the movie, and then the movie's over and I was like, I just sat through this for what? It was 2 hours of what I thought was nothing, but what I didn't understand is everything that was going on in the book. I definitely have a new appreciation for Dune after reading it. I loved the beginning of this book. I thought, honestly, the beginning, in my opinion, was better than the end. I've been looking for this. There was definitely 2 points in time where there was specific things happening with one of the side characters where I was like, huh?
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye.
Texted it to my 2 friends and I was like, there's no way, right? I'm reading this right. The guy is like actually like this, and turns out he is. And it was just kind of like, oh, okay, we're just glossing over that, but that's fine. I guess that's just what we're doing now. Okay, this is just under 800 pages, and I want to say during like the last 3/4 in here, there's a good 200 pages where I just felt like I was getting dragged through it. I was forcing myself not to skim. It was just really slow for me compared to what was happening beforehand, and it kind of just, I wanted it to wrap up a little bit quicker, to be honest. So I did rate this 4 stars, but it's a very good 4 stars. Like I said, new appreciation for it. My favorite quotes for this was, "It's like life, it presents a different face each time you take it," and "Any road followed precisely to its end leads precisely nowhere. Climb the mountain just a little bit to test that it's a mountain. From the top of the mountain, you cannot see that it's a mountain." So here we are again with the life quotes. Dune, baby. That is all I have for the physical books for what I've read. I have given away my other books since I am moving into the van next month and I'm trying to save on space. So going into Enchantra. Why do I keep saying Enchantra? Going into Enchantra. I really like this book. I've actually been thinking about Phantasma a lot since I've read it, and especially before this book release and after reading it. I do think I owe this series as a whole a re-rate because I really enjoyed this, and honestly, I've thought about Phantasma a lot more than some other books that I have read, and for me that says something. I just really like the premise. If you read Phantasma, it's like the same idea. It's games and trials, but this one's kind of more like a hide and seek. And you have a shadow daddy in this one, Rowan. And it was just, from the beginning, it kind of just pulls you in and then you play. I will say, I did like the games and trials better and Phantasma. However, I like that our female main character is more described as an actual female. Just kind of a little, not bigger, but she's definitely curvier, not perfect. Her personality can come across as overbearing, but it's for a reason, and there was just a lot of character development, and I liked what was going on between her and Rowan. My favorite quote from this one was, "Sometimes I think it's best not to chase after things. Sometimes all we can do is let them go and hope they come back on their own. And it's never easy to realize that the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones who can create the deepest scars." Again, more life quotes. I would recommend, if you liked Phantasma, you'll probably like the second book too, and there will be another one coming out eventually. I forget the date for that one. Oh, the sun's about to come up. Sun comes out tomorrow. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. If you saw my highlights clip because the sun came out more, no you didn't. Next book was Fearless. This is the 3rd book. Powerless, Reckless, Fearless. I don't know if this has a series name, to be honest. That just made me feel kind of dumb. So I did rate this 4 stars, and I know Powerless is a series that gets a lot of shit. And honestly, I can see why after reading Red Queen. I actually picked up Red Rising because I wanted to read that as a separate series altogether, but I'm curious to see how that comparison is to this series. I did enjoy this series as a whole. I liked book 3 better than book 2. I will say the ending was kind of weird to me. It was a good way to wrap up the ending. I just kind of wanted it to end slightly differently. I get why it was done, but I definitely see similarities with Red Queen. That being said, I do think if you read this, there will be a lot more emotional damage, to be honest, if you read Powerful. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read Powerful before you read the last book of the series, because there's some things that are mentioned and characters that appear in Powerful, and you will get so much depth from them that it just adds to the third book so much. I really like Kai. I love the banter between Kai and Pei. I do think it was better in book 1, and by book 3 it was kind of less, but also kind of used to it. A goose. It's a really pretty green. Sun's out. Good morning. Hopefully this is a good start to your day. What was I saying? That being said, series as a whole, I enjoyed it. Would I recommend it? Honestly, it really depends on what you're looking for. If you liked Red Queen and Shatter Me, you could end up liking this. However, there are plenty of people who don't, so take that with a grain of salt. Just because you have the same book taste as some people you see on social media doesn't mean every single book that they like or dislike is going to be the same for you. Figure it out for yourself. There's nothing wrong with branching out. You don't have to stick to certain things. I feel like people do that all the time as being influenced on social media, and they have no idea that there's all these other books, or like they're missing out on a story that they could actually really enjoy because they just trust social media that much. And I get it for recommendations, but don't feel obligated to stick to that, I guess. Okay, rant over. I'm so sorry. I really like this book. Came back from the plot. I thought Reckless was so drawn out. This is obviously not the review for Reckless, but I liked how we were able to come back in. My favorite quotes for this one were, "I don't want to gain power if it means I lose myself in the process, and everyone loses themselves to something, so make it worthwhile." My aunt has a favorite series, and it's called The Bridge Kingdom, and I read the first 2 books, and I enjoyed it. A train. You guys want to see a train? Hold on. Drink your water, people. I read the first 2, The Bridge Kingdom and Traitor Queen. So this is a good story. I will say this is said to be enemies to lovers, but I feel like it's more of a political enemies to lovers. When they meet, there's kind of an immediate attraction between the both of them, and it's not bad. It's just there is tension between them. There is some yearning on both sides, which I really appreciate. I don't like insta-love kind of stories, so anything enemy to lovers in any way, I'm always here for it. The Bridge Kingdom is about 2 kingdoms who have a truce pretty much through a marriage between Lara, who was raised to be an assassin, and Aaron, who is the king of this kingdom. And this kingdom has the keys to what everyone thinks is so much wealth because they have control of a bridge, so they kind of control trade in a way. However, there's a lot more background stuff going on that no one realizes with that kingdom. And Lara, raised to be an assassin by her dad, is expected to kill him. The story kind of unfolds from there, and you watch their relationship grows. She obviously grows because she's been sheltered, so she's getting exposed to a lot more things that she's not used to, and it's interesting to follow. Now, if you're interested in continuing the series, skip this part. The second book is called The Traitor Queen. You can take a guess as to why, but something happens in the first book kind of ruins their relationship at the time, and I felt like Traitor Queen just had enough detail to make sense. There were some fight scenes, especially at the end, I thought could could have and should have been a little bit more in depth, especially because you had so much writing up to this one point and then it was kind of just over. I knew the series was 5 books, but what I didn't expect was this to be more of a spin-off series. So the third book is about one of her sisters, and like I said, it was fun. For me, it was more of like an in-between some books that I'm reading, kind of to get out of the slump. I think that's perfect for it, but I'm not in any rush to continue. I gave Bridge Kingdom 3.5 stars and Traitor Queen 3 stars. Still good books to me. I feel like it's a fair rating for what they were. My favorite quotes from the first book was "Alive isn't living," and the second book, "Wishes were the dreams of fools," and "You are my goddamn damnation, but there will never be anyone but you." So we did have the conclusion of the ruinous love trilogy, Scythe and Sparrow. This one follows Fionn. I don't know why I said Cain. Fionn is a doctor, and he's trying to run away from things that pull him towards what he calls his darkness, and it was interesting. I think Fionn is probably the most complex character out of all the brothers, and it was interesting to get inside his head and just learn a little bit more about him and his background. I liked how she was a psychic, pretty much his opposite, and just kind of got him out of his shell and realizing that he can be himself and it won't be an issue. But yeah, it was a fun way to finish the series, but I will say for me personally, this book kind of solidified that just romance in general is probably more of what I would go to when I'm in a slump and just trying to get out of it, kind of a little palate cleanser between what I'm moving into reading. Because I will say I'm leaning more towards fantasy now, maybe slightly sci-fi, but more books that have a romance subplot and kind of hurt your feelings more than just a romance. And there's nothing wrong with romance, I still love them, but right now I think I'm just in a different spot. My TBR going into this month, I would like to read Spark of the Everflame. I definitely have to read Hex before I go back to Virginia because my sister and brother-in-law, I think, would beat me up if I didn't. That's for legal reasons, a joke. I have no idea what this is about, but supposedly it's really good. They both loved it, and they want me to talk to them about it, so I will be reading that eventually. Book of Doors was my first read for this month. I enjoyed it. It's a good book. I will be reading Guild, hopefully. Would love to read Night Circus because from what I've heard, this is like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is one of my favorite and only 5-star books that I've read so far this year. I read, it's supposed to be Future, but I already read it, but 13 was on my list for this month. And so was Babel by R.F. Kuang, and I did read this already. My current read right now is The Memory Police. Like I said earlier in the video, there was a little over a week that it was just raining, so I had a lot of time to read already. So I'm currently on The Memory Police. Just started, taking it a little slow with this one. So those are what I would like to read, but unfortunately, I'm also a mood reader, and whenever I have a list of what I would like to read, I get bored. I also picked up Empire of Silence. This is the book I mentioned earlier that I picked this up all on my own, and turns out opened up a whole new side of the book algorithm for me. I'm very excited to read this. Space War Empires. And I was like, you know what? I'd probably really like this. I think I'm saving this for when I move into the van next month, the Poppy War trilogy. I'm nervous to read this one. I've been putting this off for a while just because I know it's going to hurt me. I did get The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and my friend Chris actually asked me to buddy read this with him when he finishes The Alchemist, which I'm excited for him to finish because I recommended that to him. I also have The Sword of Kaigen, which, again, from the other algorithm, this is like top tier and immediately went up to where Poppy War is. I'm nervous to read this one. I will be reading Game of Thrones. I will be reading Throne of Glass in June, and I'm going to kind of use that series to see how far I could get into it while also testing how long I could stay off grid. I did try to read Terry Pratchett. I don't think I was in the mood for this. I got like 7 pages in and I put it down, but I picked it up because I found it in the house. I would like to read Tomahawk Angel. It's a manga that showed up on my Instagram and I really enjoyed the art, so I picked it up. I don't even know what it's about. I keep saying I'm going to read When the Moon Hatched, and then I pick it up and realize how thick it is, and it just, I don't know. I don't know. I did pick up Dark Matter. I saw a lot of good reviews on this as well, with the Sword of Kaigen. And then the last one is another fantasy book that I picked up, The City of Brass. I'm really excited to read all of these books. I tried having a list, but like I said, I'm very much a mood reader. So we'll see what I end up getting into. That was everything, I'm pretty sure. Well, I think I'm going to sit out here and read a little bit more of The Memory Police, just because I drove out here and it's still nice and no one's out. Let me know what you thought about what I read and what I'm going to read, and if you have any recommendations, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I will pretty much read anything at this point. I haven't found a genre that I was really staying away from. There's another train. I hope this doesn't come up on my audio, but thanks for stopping by. I hope this made your day a little bit better, and I will see you next time.